From the News Channel 5 Network, this is OpenLine.
Hello everyone, welcome to OpenLine. No secret, one of my favorite topics. We're talking movies tonight, and really one of my favorite times of year because the Nashville Film Festival starts next week. So this is hundreds of films that we can choose from. And tonight, what I want to do is just get a sense of what is playing, what you can go see. Certainly you can call in with a question, but I'll have plenty of questions. Happy to have with us the artistic director, Brian Owens, for the film festival. Thank you for being here.
Thank you, Ben.
Thank you again for being here. Okay, so this year's a little different.
Yes.
Let's kind of give us Film Festival 101. You know, kind of what's happening this year.
This year we actually have 300 films, exactly, for the first time. It's the first time we've crossed that threshold in our 48 years. And also we've moved from our old location, the Regal Cinemas in Green Hills, to the Regal Hollywood 27, new to us. The Regal Hollywood 27 in 100 Oaks. And it also has allowed us to expand from 6 screens to 10 screens over 10 days, which gives us room to show 300 films. So that's just a couple of the changes that we've made leading into our 48th Fest.
How do you think the new location will impact the festival? So yeah, you're right. It's always been at Regal Green Hills, now at this new location. How is that going to, you said more screens, what other differences?
Well, I also think one of the great things, and don't get me wrong, because I love the theater at Green Hills, I live in Green Hills, it's a great neighborhood, but the location was sort of tucked back behind the mall, and we were on the lower level and next to a parking garage. And so if you didn't know we were there, there was very little physical sign to show you that we were there. Whereas now that we are in the Hollywood 27, right off I-65, easily visible, and I think it's just going to make us more pronounced in the city while the festival's going on. And I've got, admittedly, I know some people that live down in Cool Springs, or maybe even further south in like Spring Hills, and East Nashville, who flat out said, I don't drive to Green Hills. And so you know, now I think we can draw some people in that were just afraid of, you know, that Hillsborough traffic. So
the film festival, I mean, you get into these subcultures. Film festivals in general, fascinating. And we have a very successful film festival, and it's been growing. So what are your expectations for this year?
Yeah,
do you expect more growth, or what are your expectations?
Well, you know, with the changes, it's kind of hard to say exactly what you expect, but you know, we crossed the threshold of 45,000 attendees last year, or basically buttressed right up against it. We had things like 44,989 or something like that. So, you know, I've got my fingers crossed that maybe this is the year that we break 50,000. But again, with so many shifts, it's a little difficult to know for sure. As of at least earlier today, last time I glanced, the individual ticket pre-sales to films were up about 32% right now. So that's a great sign. But you know, still can't tell if that all carries through all the way to the end. You know, 2 years ago we grew by 24%, last year by 8%. So it kind of seems to go back and forth. So, but I still think no matter what, it's going to be a great year. I think our accessibility and visibility is really going to help things grow.
And I think you have just a fascinating, maybe chaotic job. I mean, you are, as the artistic director, you oversee basically what gets chosen.
Correct.
Is that right?
Yeah.
So I mean, all right, there are 300 films. How many films wanted to be in the festival?
We had over 5,500 films submitted this year from 130 different countries. That includes feature-length films and shorts. We have a team now that's grown to a little over 80 people who help us hone those down. And yeah, then the 300 made the final cut. So it's a long process. It begins in July, really even like I could say June, but most of the watching starts in July, and we keep going all the way to the end of February. And then we scurry in those last few weeks to make sure everything's been watched, and then everything, you know, a lot of times we keep rewatching and rewatching until we get the last few films in.
And so then how do you define what makes a good festival? In other words, what are you looking for? When you're looking at all these movies, or your group's looking at all these movies, what kind of makes the cut and what doesn't?
The first step's actually fairly easy, because something that's not ready for a festival pronounces itself fairly quickly. Either you know, issues with sound where like you can hear the wind blowing into the microphone, you know, and it's a narrative. It's not even a documentary where you can excuse some things like that. Or one mistake I always see is someone even can write a great, especially with short films, they'll write a great script, and they'll even cast like a really good lead actor, but they'll just sort of toss friends and family in for supporting roles. So you can have like a great lead actor like sit down at the table in the restaurant, and they've been doing a great job, and all of a sudden the server walks up and is just and says like, "Hello, how can I help you today?" And that's when I just want to tell people like just get a real server to do their real job, because then they don't need to act; they can just do what they do. So those things pronounce themselves fairly quickly, and so really a good 40%. Right off the bat. Move on. Then there's the next 40%, and they're solid, where you definitely see some talent there, but when you start doing comparisons, the flaws, show. That's where you kind of send the email back that like, hey, I can't wait to see what you do in the future. This one's not quite ready for us yet. And then you have that top 20%, which is still, about 1,000 movies that we go through, where I could see them in just about any festival anywhere. And so that's where you start looking at like, which film is newer and fresher, especially when you're looking at documentaries, which one's more sort of newsworthy, which is on the note. With the narratives, you look, because narratives frequently you're telling the same stories over and over again, but you're looking for who has the freshest approach. And there's a romantic comedy called The Relation Trip, and it looks sort of like at the beginning like it's going to be a fairly normal rom-com, but then when it takes its turn to the absurd, it really sells the absurd, and they just keep going with it, and that's what really, made it so enjoyable. But yeah, so it's when they find new approaches to telling the stories, that's what we really look for.
And if there's somebody out there, and let's say, they've never been to the film festival, and think, oh, I don't think that's for me, what would you tell them? And is there a night, and we're going to go into, because I love this, just going through kind of what's going to be on night by night and what some of the top things are. But let's say there's this person out there, never been to a film festival, I don't think it's for me, it's all artsy, whatever. How is it accessible to that person?
It is like any other night at the movies in the sense that you can buy an individual ticket. Just show up at the box office, ask what's available, purchase a ticket, walk in, sit down in the theater, and enjoy the show. Hopefully enjoy the show. Not everybody likes everything, but that's how accessible it is. It's that easy. So if you ask, like say I like romantic comedies, we'll tell you what to go for. Say I like dramas, we can give you some ideas. I like action movies, we have action movies. We literally do have a little bit of everything. And the nice little benefit that you get above a normal night at the movies is that in many cases, the filmmakers are our guests. So you'll get to talk to them afterward. You'll get to meet some of the cast members. We have several well-known actors, and if not necessarily well-known by name, familiar faces that will be in attendance this year. And so yeah, our tickets are $12, which are not any more expensive than standard movie tickets anymore. So it's that accessible. In fact, actually, there's several opportunities to get free tickets as well. So we want everybody to know that they're welcome.
I agree, and I encourage people to take advantage of that. And what I think is so interesting is that opportunity to talk with the director. So you watch the movie and you think, I don't know if that was a good movie. And then you hear the director talk about it and it changes your whole perspective. You're like, I don't know why they ended it that way. And then you hear the director talk about why they ended it that way, and it's so interesting.
Right, and it really can expand the way you look at things. One of the things I like about the festival as well is that you actually get to decide on awards. Along with the juries that we bring in who pick the jury prizes, every category, except for the overall shorts, because there's just so many of them, you get to vote at the end of the movie on your way out. And so the movie that gets the highest vote total and vote average takes home an audience award. So, again, you don't get to do that when you go to a regular movie, but here you actually get to tell a filmmaker, I liked your work so much that I voted for you for the audience award, I hope you win. And a lot of times what we find is the filmmakers who attend create that extra connection with the audience, and they frequently are the ones that take home the prize.
Because yeah, when they talk about the movie, then the audience votes after hearing that talk.
Yeah.
And many times, I think almost every time, after you hear someone who has poured their heart and soul into a project, we're going to watch something for an hour and a half that they've worked years on.
Right.
And when you hear the creative process that has gone into that, you can't help but kind of be impacted by that.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I mean, last year the average score of the winner, the overall winner that had the highest score was a 4.96 out of 5. And the year before that, we had a film that got a 4.99 out of 5. Everybody gave it a 5 except for one person who gave it a 4. I do know who that person is, and if he's watching, I still am holding that against you.
No way. You know, that's hilarious. All right, so what we're going to do, we're going to take a break. And then I want to go through, like, opening night. You know, what are the movies going to be? I want to go through some of the categories, documentary, love documentaries, narratives, all that. So we'll take a break. Be back right after this.